Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are really getting into something fundamental. It seems simple, but it underpins so much. How do you actually influence someone? Especially when, they're totally dug in on the other side.
It's a huge question, isn't it?
Yeah,
And it affects everything, work, home life, you name it.
exactly. And we've got some fascinating sources for this deep dive today. It's basically a philosophical dialogue, but it lays out this really clear path away from just reacting and judging
Mm-hmm.
towards something more like, well, genuine understanding. And the sources argue this idea of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. It's not just nice to have.
No, not at all. They frame it as the essential skill, the key to wisdom, really.
Okay, so let's unpack that because
Yep.
the sources hit us with the paradox right away. Why do people dig their heels in, refuse to admit they're wrong, even when it seems totally obvious?
Right. And the flip side, why does our go-to reaction, condemning them, just seem to pour fuel on the fire?
Instead of fixing anything, it just ramps up the tension.
Yeah, and that paradox really kicks things off. It makes us look at our own, often pretty ineffective ways of dealing with conflict.
Uh-huh.
The dialogue basically says we mess up because we think our judgment has to come first. Like we need to point out the flaw before they can change.
The classic, if I just show them they're wrong approach.
Exactly. They'll see the light and fix it. But the framework argues that's just fundamentally flawed. It completely misses how the human ego works.
Which is primarily about,
Self-defense,
Yeah.
protecting itself. So criticism just triggers the walls to go up.
okay, so if judgment is basically a dead end, and I think most of us feel that, even if we still do it, what's the alternative? What does this dialogue actually propose?
Well, it introduces this really interesting concept. The translation is something like inquiry, or maybe more evocatively, arousing awareness. That's the one. And it's central. But it's not just about, being polite or avoiding the issue.
It's more active than that.
Much more. See, the dialogue points out our default is judgment. We see something, we react, we assign blame or find fault. Instantly.
Yeah, it's almost automatic.
Totally. But Goimo then flips that. It says, hold on, before you jump to a verdict, pause. And ask yourself some hard questions first. Do some radical self-inquiry.
Okay, but I need to push back here a little, for myself and for you listening. Does this mean we just let things slide?
No.
I mean, if someone's performance is poor or if their behavior is unfair, isn't there a point where judgment is necessary? Accountability. Where's that line between understanding and just enabling bad behavior?
That's a really fair question. And the framework does address it. Goimo isn't about excusing the action or the outcome. Not at all.
Okay.
It's about shifting your focus. Instead of fixating on what they did, you really try, to understand why they did it, what led to that.
So the core question changes.
Precisely. The critical step is asking yourself genuinely, okay, if I were in their exact position with their background, their pressures, their perspective right now, what would I be thinking? How might I react?
That takes effort. Serious effort sometimes.
It does. It's the tactical move, though, and how you avoid triggering those defense mechanisms we talked about.
Yeah.
The source is really clear. Condemnation guarantees resistance.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Right.
But understanding, even if it feels difficult in the moment, that's the only thing that actually opens the door to a real solution, because it lets the other person lower their guard.
So this brings up a key question for you listening, doesn't it? Whether you're dealing with a work crisis or, just family stuff, where's your energy better spent? Judging someone based on what you see on the surface, or putting in the work to understand the tangled roots, the why behind it all. The source definitely argues the latter is where real leadership, real effectiveness lies.
And to pull this out of just theory, the source gives us some really practical examples, anecdotes. And one that really jumps out is this story of Sam Douglas. It kind of proves the concept.
Oh, yes, Sam.
Well-
He was stuck in a classic household conflict, right? Tell us about it, because I think a lot of people will recognize this pattern.
Oh, absolutely. For years, Sam was constantly critical of his wife about one thing, her garden.
The garden, okay?
Yeah, she poured hours into it, resources too. And Sam saw it as, well, time taken away from the family.
Yeah.
Or maybe just a waste of time, a silly hobby.
And his reaction was?
Pretty typical, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Complaints,
Yeah.
sarcasm, constant criticism,
Yeah.
that sort of, drip, drip, drip of negativity.
Acid drip, yeah.
And guess what? It achieved the exact opposite of what he wanted, of course.
Naturally.
His wife just got sadder, more withdrawn. The conflict became this constant background noise, just poisoning the whole family atmosphere. He thought he was being logical. Maybe they did need more family time, but his approach was just destructive.
Okay, but then things changed. This is where the source shows the principle in action. He learned about this inquiry idea, right? But he didn't suddenly say, okay, let's compromise on garden time. That wasn't the first step. What did he actually do?
He shifted his entire viewpoint, fundamentally. He stopped seeing the garden as the enemy, as competition for her time.
And started seeing it
through her eyes.
Yeah.
He started to realize, wow, this is her space, her creator outlet. This is really important to her sense of self, her pride.
So recognition came first.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He just stopped the criticism, cold turkey.
Yeah.
And instead, he actually went out to the garden with her.
Okay.
And this is key. He offered genuine, specific praise. Not just nice flowers, but really acknowledged the work, the beauty she was creating, the passion she had for it.
And the results.
Immediate.
No.
Profound. The source uses this lovely phrase that the flowers of happiness started blooming in their marriage almost right away.
Wow.
The big takeaway there is Sam didn't fix the time management problem first. He fixed the connection problem, the validation problem. Once his wife felt seen and understood, that underlying tension just dissolved. And then they probably could have a real conversation about schedules later, if needed. But the barrier was gone.
Okay, so Sam's story shows it works. Let's dig into the why now, using the source material. What's the deeper psychological engine driving this? Why does empathy succeed where judgment fails so consistently?
Well, the core truth the framework presents is pretty universal. It argues that deep down, the fundamental human drive, maybe the most fundamental, is the need to be recognized, to be validated, understood.
That desire is non-negotiable, basically.
Absolutely. The source suggests pretty much everything we do, good or bad, is tied into seeking recognition for ourselves, for our efforts.
And this connects to that specific term the source uses, bungan. That's not quite the same as just ego in the Western sense, is it? It feels deeper.
It is deeper. Bunga implies that core sense of self, your identity, your worth, all wrapped up together. So when that bunga feels attacked through criticism, through judgment, especially judgment that implies you or your effort is flawed, what happens?
Defenses go up, big time.
Massive, impenetrable walls. It's almost like a biological reaction, the source implies. Judgment feels like a threat to your very being, so you shut down, get defensive, maybe even irrational.
Right, and you're no longer talking to the logical person, you're just banging against the fortress walls.
Precisely. Doesn't matter if you're a CEO getting feedback on a strategy or a kid getting told off for a messy room. The mechanism is the same.
That really does make sense. You're triggering the defenses, not engaging the mind.
But the flip side is just as powerful. When someone approaches you with genuine empathy, with that arousing awareness, go Monthek.
They feel safe.
Exactly. You've acknowledged their reality, their effort, their worth, even if you don't agree with the outcome. And because they feel safe, they willingly lower those defenses. They open up. They might even become capable of self-reflection.
And the sources say this applies everywhere.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Family, work negotiations, team dynamics, societal issues. The principle holds. If you want real influence, you have to get past the defensive bunya. And the only way to do that is to offer recognition first.
Okay, so understanding leads to connection. Connection leads to influence. We've got the mechanism. What's the bigger picture here? What's the ultimate goal or the, let's say, philosophical payoff, according to this dialogue? How does it define real wisdom or growth?
Yeah, the sources don't just leave us with the tactic. They offer this really powerful image, a metaphor that kind of sums up the choice we have and how we view others.
Right, the one you mentioned earlier really stuck with me. Let's paint that picture again.
Okay, imagine this scene. Two prisoners look out the window, same view. One sees only the iron bar.
The limitations, the constraints, the problem right in front of them.
Exactly. While the other sees the star-filled sky.
The potential, the bigger picture, hope.
Right. And if you map that onto what we've been talking about, the first prisoner is stuck in judgment mode. They look at someone else and only see the flaws, the mistakes, the opposition, the iron bars of the immediate conflict.
They're trapped by the problem.
But if you deliberately choose compassion, if you practice that arousing awareness, you start to see past the deadlock. You start looking for the potential, the shared humanity, the possibility for change.
You see the stars.
You see the stars. You shift your focus from the present limitation to the future solution.
And this completely reframes what we think of as strength, doesn't it? The dialogue has a really striking conclusion about maturity.
It does. It argues that real maturity, real growth, isn't about winning debates or proving you're right. It's not intellectual domination.
It's found where?
entirely in your capacity for empathy, for forgiveness, for tolerance. Real strength, the source suggests, isn't about forcing your view. It's about having the capacity to understand another's. Accommodation, not domination.
It's choosing that higher road.
Yeah. And recognizing that stepping into someone else's shoes doesn't mean you lose your own perspective or compromise your own truth. It just means you've gained an incredibly powerful tool for actually connecting with them and ultimately influencing the situation positively. #tab outro.
So we started this deep dive talking about how frustrating it is dealing with defensive people, right? That feeling of hitting a brick wall. But what we've really unpacked here is that trying to understand another person's situation, putting yourself in their place, it does more than just cool your own anger, though that's a nice bonus.
This isn't my bonus.
It actually genuinely unlocks the door. It creates the opening for real influence, real connection.
That's the core message, isn't it? This whole framework, drawn from philosophical dialogue, it lands on something incredibly practical. The sources really hammer this home. Success, whether that's in your career or just happiness in your family, it starts with this ability.
The ability to step into someone else's position.
To bypass their ego defenses by appealing to their fundamental need for understanding.
Okay, so the sources suggest society gets better, not when we all get better at criticizing each other, but when we choose compassion over judgment more often. So, here's a final thought, a challenge maybe for you to take away this week. Think about the Sam Douglas story.
Right.
Can you identify just one small, low-stakes interaction coming up, something where your usual reaction might be judgment, maybe a quick criticism, a sarcastic comment?
We all have those moments.
Totally. So just for that one interaction this week, make a deliberate choice. Choose understanding. Choose to look for the starry sky, not just the iron bars. Practice that arousing awareness. Ask yourself why before you judge what.
See what happens.
Yeah. What unexpected connection, what little bit of positivity might that tiny shift create? Just try it.
It could be surprising.
It really could. That's been our deep dive today into empathy as the bedrock of wisdom and influence.
Great discussion.
We'll talk to you next time.